Got a great conversation coming up next, courtesy of Cadillac. Now, before 1980, 1 in every 2,000 children was thought to be autistic. Now, it's 1 in 88, 1 in 54 if you just count boys, who are 5 times as likely as girls to be diagnosed. Joining me to discuss, we have Dr. Paul Steinberg, Roberta Scherf, Michael John Carley, and Benjamin Nugent. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I gotta start with you, Michael, because 1 in 54, that's just an incredible number. Is that realistic?
I actually think so. I mean, we have to remember that as we've learned about this condition over the years, what has really increased is our ability to spot it and to identify it better. I think that we're still in one of those warehouse periods where older people, such as myself, who still might be waiting for the proper diagnosis that might really positively impact their lives, are just sitting somewhere being thought of as eccentric or weird or, worse things, who have yet to benefit from some trained clinician's eye that could really, see them in the proper light and get them the help that they need. So I don't necessarily think so, but I would say that I think that number is probably going to, the accelerant is going to start to dwindle a little bit as pretty much the warehouse gets cleared out.
Are we seeing a legitimate increase, I think, in the number of people on the spectrum? I think we are. But I don't think it matters what word you use, whether you call them people with Aspergers or with autism or with something else. There certainly is an increase in certain numbers of behaviors, and those have been shown. I mean, it's not just what you see. They've actually done tests so that there are brain scans that will show differences. And yeah, I think that there's an increase.
Paul, how have you seen autism diagnosis change over these decades?
We have to take into account the money aspect as well, because in 1992 things changed very significantly when the Department of Education provided more funding for parents and schools for kids with pervasive developmental disorder, and the number of kids with autism spectrum disorders, particularly Asperger's, went up significantly. And in California, where the funding did not come through, the number did not go up. So we see that it's not only context, as Benjamin said, and the age in which somebody can challenge the diagnosis, but money plays a crucial role. And the other aspect that we have to take into account, I mean, I'm a psychiatrist and I certainly believe in medications and treatments, but there's so much effort to pathologize various conditions, including shyness and introversion. So the company that makes Paxil or paroxetine back in the early 90s made a very strong case that social anxiety should be a very specific diagnosis so that they could get a larger market share for their serotonergic medications. So all of these things play a significant role in these fashionable diagnoses. Not that autism shouldn't be clearly diagnosed and dealt with in a very profound way, but we've got to be aware of some of the environmental and financial issues that are involved in these diagnoses.
The APA is considering new definition for autism, a change that could limit kids' access to special education. And Roberta, for someone who actually is very hardworking towards making sure her child has everything that she needs, how does this make you feel when people kind of casually use autism or Asperger's as like a definition of a behavior without taking the issue seriously?
For me, the words maybe have less meaning than for everyone else here, because at the root, it doesn't matter, when your child is diagnosed with autism and they clearly have it, or with Asperger's and they clearly have it. It doesn't matter what it's called. What it comes down to is that your child is different and thus isolated, which is the biggest problem because we're a social community and we live together. So you will do anything that you can to make sure that their life, whatever it is, whether it's with autism, with Asperger's, whatever, is one that they can function in as effortlessly and as easily as possible to the full, their fullest possible potential.